Hi, I'm Beth Appleby with Ebby Holiday Realtors, and it's a great pleasure to introduce Rob with Cross Country Mortgage. He's here today to talk to us a little bit about the buying process of a beach house, as in how are we paying for it, Rob?
Right.
How are we paying for it?
How are we going to structure this one?
How are we going to structure this one? So there are a lot of different ways. Like number one is, what are you using your beach house for? So we need to start with that, because like me, it's my residence.
Well, you're really good about getting them directed over into, our, first, because there are different ways. We need to know, is it going to be something that they're going to live in, or are we talking about something that's an income property? Because it's a whole different program each side that they go. So once we figure that out, then we can start talking about things like...
second home is not income.
Right.
Two different things, and people don't understand that. So that's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, so someone that's just thinking, well, I'm going to live in it like part-time and maybe use Airbnb or something like that the rest of the time. Well, that moves it into an income property category, which means it changes the guidelines on how much they want to put down, what they have to have in reserves, and all that stuff. And over the past 2 or 3 years, because what happened during the pandemic is everybody bought these homes and then they were renting them out, they've really cranked down on, if it's going to be a second home, it's a second home. If it's going to be an investment or an income property, it's an investment or an income property.
Right.
So that's the first thing we have to do, is identify what's the use of it. What do they want, out of the property?
So let's just start there with, okay, so I decide I think it's my second home, but so-and-so wants to rent it for a week, and now I have this person renting it for a week, and then I have, somebody else coming down. That is not a second home.
I mean, there's nothing saying that you can't rent it out, but there are certain guidelines that you have to live in that house for, depending on programs, how many months a year that you have to, work at it. But like one of the advantages of an investment property is you can use those rents to offset the payment, because that's a lot of what people are concerned with. How am I going to qualify? Well, if it goes to an income-driven property, you can offset it with what those rents or the profit and loss statement on the house was previously if it was a rental, and you can use that for qualifying. Right,
and so I think partly that's where people got into trouble a little bit with all of the rentals down here, was they were using old numbers from, so if they bought it a year ago or 2 years ago and have been trying to rent it, they were basing that expense and what they're qualifying on from rents from the pandemic. When everybody was here. Now we're out of that, and we have probably a good year and a half or 2 years of actual, what I call real rental history. And so that's going to change how they look at what this house really is making, because everyone's back to work, they're back to school, they're not coming down and staying 3 weeks at a time. So that's going to change a little bit of what they're doing, but it's still very possible. So if I have a buyer who goes, okay, this is going to be an income, I'm going to stay in it occasionally, but this is going to be an income property, I can get that income statement, that profit and loss statement from the seller. No matter how good or bad it looks compared to what it used to be. We're not worried about what it used to be, we're worried about what it is now, correct? Right. What is the most recent data on that house? Right. Because I think that's when a lot of people are kind of a little confused on.
I think a lot of people get confused on the difference between the two.
Second home and
they do,
property. Yes, they do.
Because it really affects the amount of money you put down, the interest rate, what it takes to buy down the rate. Like, it is completely, you have to start with, what is the property going to be used for? Right. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. Let's not take the best case scenario and try to apply it that you're going to get numbers from 22 and 23, right? The income numbers. Let's just roll with it. Let's roll the last 12 to 18 months and see what you have and make sure it makes sense.
Okay, so that's number one.
That's the first thing we have to establish.
So when as a buyer you call me and you say, okay, I want to buy the house, automatically I go straight to, how are we paying for it, and do you have a lender? Yep. And then I send them. I always send a couple in. I always have to send a couple. Right. So I send our Ebby Holiday favorite lenders, and I send you, and I pick a lender out of the mix. Right. Because I do things in threes. But you generally you pick up the phone and have the conversation that follows, because you and I have been working together really well. So you know how my conversation has gone, and now you're going to carry that conversation through. And so you're going to carry that conversation through.
Okay, start back to
we meet that conversation. Okay. And so you're going to carry the conversation that I just had. How are we paying for this? What are we doing? While you're doing that, I can be looking at some of the houses that they think, or usually they're calling because they saw a house, right? They're like, oh, I saw this house. I want to buy this house. I can then be calling that listing agent and getting that background information, asking for.
Because that TV went off. So start back at the.
Carry the conversation through.
Yeah. Let me get it.
Get your
started.
TV back on.
I didn't even think about that, and I looked. I was like, wait a minute, man.
You're gonna have lots of editing on this one.
I had a lot of go through when we were doing your daughter's deal. I had to go through what.
Oh, Allison would make the funniest faces.
She made
oh
faces
my gosh.
at the end, and finally I
he
looked
just
at
put a
all
banner
of them,
on
and I
them.
said, man, I'm just going to pull the voice out and put a banner over it. Okay, now you can start again.
Okay, so we're going to carry the conversation through. So you're going to pick up where I left off. I'm going to introduce you as the lender, and you're going to make a call and call them and introduce yourself and then talk about what are we doing. While you're talking to them about basic, getting information from them and their financial situation and what they want to do, I can then be on the other side calling the listing agent and saying, they're really interested in this house. Does your seller have a profit and loss statement? Can you get me that information? Because there's no sense in any of us moving forward and driving down here and unlocking doors and looking at houses if it's not going to work from the get-go.
Well, and one of your asks of me too is you also want to know that they can qualify for the house. So you want me to do the research and look up the taxes on what it's going to run. What's our insurance going to run down here because of all the insurance hikes that we've had?
And that you can't just do on an app. You can't do insurance on an app for down here.
No, not at all. You have to know the area, and that's what you want. Right. And honestly, sometimes that information is better coming from me than from Beth. You know what I mean? To tell them, because when they ask what that payment is, and I tell them because of that, and I'm able to break it down and go through, because while you're doing all that, the last thing we want to do is someone, thinks that they're going to get a, house down here for just a couple $1,000s a month, right? You need payment, and then you have to be the bad news.
Then we have to be,
you know what I mean? You have to tell them the bad news or whatever. So all that stuff happens, but it all goes back to what we talked about. We need to know what's the use of the property. What are we going to do?
Because even the insurance changes on that.
Yeah.
Because your insurance coverage is going to be different if you're going to actually have people in that house and using this income versus this is just your vacation home.
Right. But and people do have these for primary residences. Let's not discount that. No, people move down here. So we're talking about second home investment, but people do buy the houses down here. Another thing that's important about this is identifying what type of home. It deals with the seller concessions on the property. Right. Right now, a big thing in the marketplace is buying the rates down. You can't live with the hope of rates are going to come down. Everybody's been saying that for a year or 2 years. Let's not play that. Let's do it right now. Well, let's get the rate down to where it makes sense and they can afford the house. The reason why that's a big deal is buying the rate down can be paid for by the seller of the property. Right. Going back to what we talked about, the different amounts of money that you can use to buy down are based off, or how much is based off the type of home. If you got an investment property, that's only 2% that they can use. That's all they can use. That's all they can use. That's for closing costs, that's for buy down, all that kind of stuff.
So we can only ask that.
If it's a second home, that number jumps. Be 3%, 6%, 9%, depending on what they put down on it. Well, that's where you get into, to make it. But if we go second home, we're not going to be an income property, so we have to be able to afford it. See how important that is to figure out in the beginning what we're doing it. Right. And a lot of people right now are a little scared about putting a ton of money down. They don't want to break stuff out of investments because they're unsure what the market's going to do. Right. So they typically, what I've seen, and this is all over Texas, I've seen them generally want to start with putting like, say 10% down, but they want the mortgage set up with an option that if they want to put another 100,000 or 50,000 or whatever that number is down the road, the mortgage can reset, recast, reamortization, and lower the monthly payment. So if the stock market does go up and they've got the ability then to sell some stock, cover their tax loss,
pull that out.
They put that on the house, it will lower the payment. It's not just taking it off of the back end on the principal and stuff. Okay. Once again, there's different programs for primary residence, there's different homes, different programs for second homes, and different programs for investment on that recast option. So all of these things need to be discussed.
I didn't
and
do a
find out.
recast option on my house, did I? I did not.
I don't think you did. No, and you have to identify it up front,
I
to
know.
do it, because otherwise you put that large chunk down, you're going to save interest, but your monthly payment's not going to go down.
Right.
But these are all the things that I'm going to figure out while you're doing the research in the background and kind of tell you, because a lot of people don't think through this. They don't think about that extra money down the road when the stock market's up or whatever it's doing. We kind of go through, or sometimes people are close to retirement. They're going to get a payout when they retire. They want to take that chunk of money, or, and you know this better, they got a house they're selling. It's not sold right now,
it's not
but
sold.
they've got $500,000 of equity or something coming that they want to put down later. Then you recast, and now that mortgage goes way down on it too. So those are all the things that we talk about up front, especially when we're talking about second home communities, investment properties.
See, I didn't. Now I know why I didn't recast, because I had children in school. That's where that money went. Anyway, so it's a whole lot more complex. It sounds very confusing. People listening to us right now are going to be like, "Oh my gosh,
it's a lot," but
it's not a lot if we work together.
Yeah. And it generally, in a 15 to 30-minute conversation, I'll hit the touch points and we'll kind of go over, and we will get dialed in, given these options, find out where they are financially. Are they selling a house to buy? Are they not? Do they even want that option? Do we want to bring that rate down right now?
Right now, right?
You know what I mean? Or do we want to do it temporary because we think the rate's going down, which I'm not a big fan of. I've never really been a fan of the temporary buy downs. You know that. If we're going to do it, let's do it.
Let's do it.
But all of these things, there's so many ways to massage the mortgage to get it to what they want if you ask the right questions.
Right.
You have to ask them the right questions and understand.
And we have to get the right information.
Right.
So as the realtor, I need to be getting all kinds of information to you. And not just you, but also, we mentioned insurance, because that's a big thing.
It is.
That changes your payment drastically if you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And I've run into that a couple of times down here where, we don't have an elevation certificate. We don't have information on age of roof, things like that. All of that changes what that insurance payment's going to be. In one case, it changed an insurance payment $2,000.
Oh, it can take them out of a qualifying range.
Right.
Someone could qualify for a home and they could lose their qualifying because the insurance is double.
Because the insurance.
Yeah.
But when we found the elevation certificate, well, we were back into qualifying again because, look at this, our insurance went down. And so all of these things come together. So we need to be proactive and figure out a good chunk of this, and then come on down. And once we have it set up for one property, if that one property isn't going to work, the numbers don't change that drastically at that point from property to property.
No.
So once we have something set up, we can then move. So this house didn't work, or we came and you opened the door and it didn't look like the pictures, because that happens a lot.
Yeah.
Then we can go, well, that's okay. We can go look at this house and this house and this house. And out of all these, we'll still be working in pretty much the same idea of a loan setup and payments, and we might tweak it a couple dollars here and there, but not that big a deal.
Yeah.
So the really important thing is they got to call you.
They do. And I really think it's a great opportunity down here on the Peninsula right now. I mean, anybody can go out there and just search the properties and what's going on down here. And there's some, in my opinion, and I'm not a realtor, I gotta say that. In my opinion, there's some fantastic deals right now. If you don't believe me, do your research. I'm gonna use
Allison's term, clearance sales.
Yeah,
I will tell you,
that's great.
There are no clearance sales in real estate, but my daughter is right. There are definitely some properties that are on clearance. And if you can grab that property, play with some interest buy down, you can get a phenomenal deal on a beach home.
If you're waiting for the perfect scenario with the prices and then the rates down to buy, guess what? Everybody else is too. And when everybody else comes to a market, what happens?
Now we're back up.
Now we're right back up to where we were. So they should look at the properties down here.
There's some
deals.
Some great deals.
And of course, it doesn't cost anything to get pre-qualified or get approved or talk to me.
A phone call.
It's a phone call. It'll be worth your while.
All right, we'll come back and talk again.
Okay.
It'll be fun. Thank you, Rob.
Video equipment is sponsored by Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.